Considering we're getting closer and closer to the release of Assassin's Creed Valhalla's DLCs, I thought I'd discuss a theory I had about them, because those have aged famously well. Also, as a side note, we could see an AC1 remaster bundled with the Season Pass like 3 with Odyssey. Look, there is still time for Eivor to go to Solomon's Temple. Yeah? Just a bit, so shut up. The subject of today's theory is whether Eivor will become a Templar rather than an assassin, or the hidden one at this point, and why as of now I would honestly prefer Eivor to become a Templar, and why after the epilogue it'd be silly for her to become an assassin, despite that being a sentence I really don't like. And of course this is all just a theory, and one that hinges on whether or not the DLC will actually have any focus on the formation of the Templars and not just big old Viking raids, which could be an issue. But you know where it's not an issue, and where I don't mind raiding day and night? Raid Shadow Legends. Raid Shadow Legends. Yes, this video is sponsored by the critically acclaimed and not to mention free RPG with tens of millions of downloads, Raid Shadow Legends. A turn-based RPG and an excellent way to pass the time as the world slowly collapses. Personally, I've been playing the game's narrative-driven campaign featuring 84 different stages spanning 12 different locations. But if that's not for you, maybe sink your teeth into some of the game's dungeons, or if you're feeling sociable, maybe join a clan. Because hey, whoever said you need to commit knife crimes in sewers all on your own? Probably no one, but that's not the point. The point is that Raid is a huge game with over 500 champions, giving you near limitless possibilities when it comes to combat scenarios. Personally, my favourite champion is the Templar, because I am me, and also, you know, thematic as of today, but your options are so extensive, I'd encourage you to choose for yourself. The game also gets massive updates on a regular basis. Just recently, the game received its biggest update yet, which added the Doom Tower, which has 120 floors and 12 unique bosses. But hey, that's enough from me. If you want to check it out for yourself, there'll be a link in the description that if you're a new player in the next 30 days, will give you 50,000 silver, 50 gems, 1 energy refill, a clan boss key, 5 mystery shards, a 1-day XP booster, and Shaman, an epic champion. And that'll all appear in your inbox, which is right up here in the top right. But with all that said, I hope you guys enjoy the video, and thanks for watching. At this point, I think you could argue it makes as much or even more sense for Eivor to become a Templar than for her to become an assassin. First of all, I think it's important to talk about Valhalla's focus on the hidden ones compared to its focus on the Order of Ancients and the Templars. Going into Valhalla, I, like many people, assumed this game would be that transition period where we'd see the hidden ones become Levantines, and that would be its focus. And while the game does do a lot with that in terms of lore, with the codex and what have you, fleshing out the hidden ones so much more, the game feels like it has much more of a focus on the Order of Ancients and eventually the Templars, with the game ending having Eivor not join the hidden ones and having Alfred establish basically the blueprint for his ideal Templar order, or at this point, the poor fellow soldiers of Christ, which is treated as an oddly sort of wholesome moment, as opposed to something more sinister as it would be with your typical AC game. Eivor then opts to not join the Brotherhood, and that's it. That's the end of the epilogue. Going into the DLC, we're left wondering whether we'll even become an assassin at all. If Eivor was to become a Templar, I think that'd make that last exchange between her and Hytham make more sense, at least in hindsight after the DLC. Right now, it's generally seen as a series of out of character and even hypocritical remarks, but if those were written better and around different circumstances, I feel as if the scene could make a lot more sense as the definitive moment Eivor decides the Brotherhood just isn't for her. And in fairness, the DLC could certainly turn that back, considering the Siege of Paris takes place a good few years after the main game. But I do feel as if that'd be difficult to do without it feeling as if Eivor is devolving given that exchange, but I personally think we could see it go the other way. I think that the Siege of Paris is bound to have some follow-up to Eivor making the space for Alfred to create the Templars. I don't think there's any way that that scene is just going to have no effect on Eivor or Valhalla's DLC. It'd be stupid if it didn't, even though that definitely won't be the focus. We know that just recently, Magnus finished recording the Siege of Paris DLC, and just before that, Eric Madsen, who played Guthrum, confirmed he was working on it too by a tweet he made. Now, Guthrum was a legendary Viking that, as we know, is somebody Eivor respects. And after the events of the epilogue, but before the Siege of Paris, Guthrum not only surrendered to Alfred, but became a devout Christian, changing his name and becoming baptized. And so I think it's a fair assumption that the next time we see Guthrum, or Ethelstan at this point, he'll be a Templar and could possibly convince Eivor to join. Eivor's biggest priorities are the safety and the prosperity of her clan, and her becoming a Templar is something that could secure both of those things, with Alfred also wanting full control over England, and with that alliance surely providing some assurance that Alfred wouldn't attack it. Because beyond Alfred, at this point Eivor doesn't have any real threat to it, especially considering the fact Ravensthorpe may as well be a part of the fucking G7 at this point, right? The biggest jump to make here would be that the Templars at this point are an organisation founded on Christian values. Eivor adopting those values would cause her credibility and respect among her clan and other Norse people to deteriorate, and then her actually wanting to subscribe to another religion after the dialogue her and Guthrum share at the pyre, it just doesn't seem probable, at least not without some sort of regression from her character, which I don't think would happen. I think 2 DLCs is enough to transform Eivor into someone who can at least relate or sympathise to some Templar ideals, but her believing in any god or afterlife or anything supernatural after that dialogue would just be a bit off. So if Eivor became a Templar, it would be on the condition it'd be a bit of an uneasy alliance, because I just don't see that happening. There's 2 other things I can think of that a lot of people would say contradict the theory. The first would be that Eivor's left hand is obscured. If it wasn't, we'd see whether or not Eivor still had her ring finger, which would all but confirm if she did or didn't become an assassin. And I think that was necessary either way, because either you spoil a surprise or convince a fair chunk of your audience they're about to waste 50 hours of their time. Yeah, I'm still bitter about that one. But that leads me on to my next point, that I think right now it's better for Eivor to become a Templar. I don't want Eivor to become an assassin at this point, and it's a shame we're in such a bizarre scenario where that's the case. For one, it'd sort of undermine this journey Eivor goes on that would perfectly lead to her becoming an assassin even more so, and it'd make that dialogue feel even more polarising and, worst of all, pointless. And secondly, saving this big moment that's obviously a massive draw for old fans for the DLC, it just feels kind of baity, and it's the kind of thing that should be in the main game, especially when the setup's there. And that's the thing, Eivor not pledging alliance to any kind of faction at the end of Valhalla will be a decision that was done to sound more Viking-esque DLC, at least to some extent. It wouldn't make sense for an assassin to venture out to Paris with the intent of sieging it. And if they've held off making Eivor an assassin to sell that DLC, not only have they squandered the perfect opportunity to do that in the main game, but they'd have then placed that behind a paywall. By the same token though, I don't want Eivor to just be another traveller. The creation of the Templars should have some effect on the story and some effect on Eivor. It'd be a waste if that wasn't the case. And so at this point I wouldn't mind seeing Eivor become a Templar, because at this point the Order is at their most pure and morally justifiable, and so having a vessel to explore the Order as they should be and before they were bastardised would be pretty cool. But then again, I'll reiterate, it's the Siege of Paris. This may well be just another DLC that cares far more about the Viking fantasy than the Assassin one. Who knows? Anyway, let me know what you think of this. Check the link in the description if you do want to check out Raid. And I'm sorry for being away for so long. I didn't mean for that to be as long as it was. I'm back on it now. I've got plenty of things in the works. I'm going to start speedrunning AC2 tonight, so I might stream that at a point. But anyway, that's it from me today. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, maybe leave a like, and if you didn't, maybe let me know why. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all next time.